Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're headed straight into the Hyborian Age. It's a world of barbarians and sorcery, all that good stuff. Robert E. Howard's The Scarlet Citadel is where we're headed, and let me tell you, this story doesn't waste any time throwing you right into the action.
Absolutely. It's like you're dropped right into the heart of a battlefield from the very first page. No easing you in, no long introductions.
Right. You either keep up or you get left behind. And speaking of keeping up, we got to talk about Conan.
Ah, yes, the Cimmerian himself.
He's not just some barbarian, though. He's the king in this one, king of Aquilonia.
It's true. But don't let the crown fool ya. He's in a pretty tight spot when the story begins.
That's putting it mildly. Try 5,000 Aquilonia knights against 30,000 enemies.
Talk about bad odds. And if that wasn't enough, there's betrayal thrown in for good measure.
Oh, yeah. Good old King Amalric.
Always someone looking to take advantage, right?
It's classic Howard, though. Gotta love it. But even with all that going against him, there's Conan in the thick of it, fighting like a man possessed.
And Howard, he describes these battles like nobody's business. It's brutal, it's visceral, you can practically smell the blood and sweat.
It really puts you right there in the middle of it all. But even Conan, he can only do so much, especially when you've got a sorcerer like Tsotha-lanti involved.
Ah, yes, Tsotha-lanti. Now there's a name that sends shivers down your spine.
And for good reason. This guy's the real deal, powerful and utterly ruthless.
You see that right away in how he treats Amalric, even though they're supposed to be allies.
Oh, absolutely. Amalric thinks he's calling the shots, but one look from Tsotha-lanti, and he's reduced to a blubbering mess.
A good reminder that in this world, magic trumps ambition every time.
So Conan's defeated, captured, paraded through the streets. But here's the thing about Conan. Even when he's down, he's never truly out.
He's a survivor. You can see it in the way Howard describes him. Always observing, always thinking a few steps ahead.
Exactly. He's taken to this imposing fortress, the Scarlet Citadel. I mean, the name alone tells you it's not a fun place. And it's in those dungeons that we get to see a different side of Conan.
A more introspective side.
Yeah. He's brought before his captors, and instead of begging for mercy or, going all barbarian rage, he gives this speech.
A speech.
A speech. And it's actually pretty impressive. He talks about earning his crown, about fighting for every inch of his kingdom.
He's appealing to their sense of fairness, in a way.
In a way. It shows a depth to his character that you might not expect.
It's true. He's not just muscle and fury. He's got principles, a code he lives by.
And part of that code is protecting his people. He doesn't want the throne back just for the power, but because he feels responsible for Aquilonia.
A true king, even in chains.
Right. But of course, Tsotha-lanti doesn't really care about any of that, so down into the dungeons Conan goes. And not just any dungeons, mind you. These are the halls of horror.
Now that's an ominous game.
And it lives up to it, believe me. That's where things get really interesting. But we'll get to that next time. So those keys the guard was dangling in front of Conan, the ones that represented a sliver of hope in this grim situation.
Well, they become a pivotal point in the story. They turn into the key to something more important than just escape.
And it's a real twist. Turns out that guard, instead of just leaving Conan to the serpent, he gets a little greedy.
He decides he wants to take matters into his own hands, to deal out his own brand of justice.
It's a reminder that even in this world where sorcerers and kings are the ones who wield the most power, cruelty is everywhere, even amongst the common folk.
And then we see that serpent, the one that almost became Conan's doom.
Yeah, the serpent becomes an unexpected ally.
It's ironic, right?
Totally. The guard is about to strike, and the serpent, sensing an easier meal perhaps, snatches him away.
Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place, except it's more like a barbarian and a giant serpent.
And during the struggle, the keys fall to the floor, and Conan, ever resourceful, grabs them, unlocks his chains, and makes a run for it.
Talk about a narrow escape. But he's still not out of the woods. He's trapped in those dungeons, and Howard isn't letting up on the suspense.
Oh, not at all. As he stumbles through these dungeons, he finds another cell. And it's not just any cell, it's one that you can hear screams coming from. And even Conan, who's been in more than his fair share of scrapes, he's taken aback by what he finds.
This is where Howard blends physical horror with a chilling sense of the unknown.
You could say that. Inside the cell is a creature that defies easy description. It's something that you wouldn't expect even in this world.
Howard describes it as a weeping, tentacled monstrosity with a face that seemed both human and grotesquely not.
That's pretty disturbing. But it's not just the look of it, the way it laughs. It makes the whole encounter feel like something out of a nightmare.
Yeah, it gets under your skin. It's a reminder that some things are best left undisturbed, even in a world as harsh as Conan's. Conan wisely decides to move on, and his journey takes an even stranger turn.
He finds a bottomless well. And it's not just the well, but it's what he feels there.
You can feel it, too, as the reader. It's as if the dungeon itself is alive, malevolent, watching him.
It's just a subtle thing, but it creates this incredible sense of dread. It's like something terrible is lurking just beyond the edge of perception.
It's a classic Howard move, playing on those primal fears, that sense of something lurking in the shadows. And just when you think things can't get any weirder, he encounters that giant serpent again.
Talk about déjà vu, except this time the serpent seems more wary of Conan, as if sensing something even more dangerous nearby.
Yeah, it's almost like in one of those old monster movies, right? You got one monster backing down from another, and you know something truly terrifying is about to be unleashed.
That's a great way to put it, and that's exactly what happens. Drawn by a faint moan, Conan investigates another cell, and this time, what he finds will change the course of the whole story.
It's a discovery that will have repercussions far beyond the depths of the Scarlet Citadel.
You could say that. And it all starts with a rather unusual plant.
This isn't your typical houseplant, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Inside the cell, Conan finds this figure bound and entangled by this bizarre, almost beautiful, but utterly grotesque plant.
I think Howard does a great job of capturing that duality, the beauty and the grotesque. It's unsettling.
It's Yothka. The plant itself is a creation of Tsotha-lanti's dark magic. A very fitting prison.
And the poor soul trapped inside, he's near death. But even amongst all of this, Conan's compassion isn't entirely extinguished.
He draws his sword, and with one stroke, severs the plant's main stem, releasing the prisoner.
And the plant's reaction is just as unsettling as its appearance.
Yeah, it's almost like it's alive, sentient.
It's like it's alive, sentient. Howard writes that it thrashed and writhed, its blossoms shriveling as if in pain. It's a small detail, but it adds to the overall sense of unease, blurs the lines between plant and animal, the natural and the unnatural.
That's one of the things that makes Howard's writing so effective. It makes you question what you're even looking at.
Absolutely. It's like he wants us to fill in the blanks with our own imaginations.
And that's often far more terrifying. But as unsettling as Yothka is, the real shock comes from the identity of the prisoner.
That's right. It turns out to be Pelias, Tsotha-lanti's arch rival, and a sorcerer of immense power.
Everyone thought he was dead, but Tsotha-lanti had other plans.
It's nice to know there's someone with a grudge that runs deeper than a few kingdoms. It's
a testament to Pelias' strength that he survived the ordeal, even if he's a shadow of his former self. He's weak, disoriented, his memories fragmented.
It's a stark contrast to the formidable sorcerer we hear about later in the story.
It's a reminder that even the most powerful individuals can be brought low. But even in this weakened state, Pelias still possesses incredible magical abilities.
And he's not afraid to use them. Remember Shikeli, the unfortunate guard who met his end thanks to that serpent?
Well, let's just say he makes a surprising comeback, though not in the way you might expect.
That's right. He uses his magic to reanimate Shikeli's corpse, turning him into their unlikely escort.
Talk about a dark twist. It's a scene that showcases Pelias' mastery over life and death.
It's a dangerous game they're playing, and the stakes are only going to get higher as they make their way out of the Scarlet Citadel and back into the heart of a kingdom on the brink of collapse. So, Conan and Pelias, they make their way out of the Scarlet Citadel with a reanimated corpse as their escort.
It's a testament to Howard's imagination, the way he can blend the horrific with the adventurous.
And remember, while all this has been happening, the outside world, it hasn't been standing still. Conan's kingdom, it's fallen into chaos.
He's got a kingdom to reclaim. And fast.
Luckily, Pelias, despite his condition, he's still got some tricks up his sleeve.
He's a powerful sorcerer, even weakened.
He's got this crystal, Tsotha-lanti's crystal, and it allows them to see what's happening elsewhere. And it's not pretty. They see Shamar, Conan's city, surrounded by Strabonius' army, the defenders outnumbered, hope dwindling.
It's a desperate situation.
And as if that wasn't bad enough, they see Tamar, Cohen's capital, falling into disarray.
Arpello seized control. No surprise there.
Typical, right. But the people, they think Conan's dead. So they're rallying behind this new leader.
It's a classic power vacuum.
It's a good thing Conan's on his way back. But getting back to Tamar before dawn, Pelias, he has an interesting way of traveling in mind.
Let's just say it's not your average chariot ride. He summons a creature of the night, huge, with wings that span like 40 feet.
Talk about traveling in style, right? So Conan's on his way back to Tamor, and things in the city are about to boil over.
Arpello's grip on power. It's not exactly ironclad. Remember those mobs we talked about?
Yeah, the ones who were desperate for a strong leader.
They're not known for their patience.
And Arpello's methods, they're not exactly winning him any popularity contests.
It's true.
But then there's Athamides, this student who dares to speak out against Arpello.
A brave soul.
He rallies the people, tells them the truth about Arpello.
He sees Arpello for the tyrant he is.
And it costs him.
It does, but his words, they have power, they resonate, even after his death.
And just as dawn's breaking over Tamar, casting this, blood-red glow over the city, a shadow descends from the sky.
Talk about an entrance.
Conan's back, and he doesn't waste any time confronting Arpello. Let's just say justice is swift. And with the pretender out of the picture, Conan rallies his people, getting them ready to face Strabonus.
It all leads up to the Battle of Shamar.
And this battle, it's classic Howard. You've got the desperation of the defenders, the ferocity of the attackers, Conan leading the charge.
And just when it seems like all hope is lost, the tide turns.
Inspired by Athamides' sacrifice and Conan's return, they launch this desperate counterattack, and it works.
It's a testament to the power of hope, wouldn't you say? The way it can inspire even in the darkest of times.
Absolutely. But the battle's not over yet. Conan, he's got his sights set on Tsotha-lanti.
Vengeance is a powerful motivator.
And the chase is on. Across the battlefield, they're dodging arrows, Conan's fury driving him forward.
It's a thrilling sequence leading up to a final brutal confrontation.
Conan catches up to Tsotha-lanti, and magic, well, it's no match for Cimmerian steel. But here's the thing about Howard, just when you think it's over.
It's never truly over, is it?
Tsotha-lanti's body, even headless, it tries to crawl away.
As if some dark magic still clings to it.
And then Peleus swoops down on this, get this, giant eagle, and snatches up the severed head. It's a fittingly bizarre end to a wild ride, but it does make you wonder what's next for Conan.
He escaped one cage, only to find himself in another, perhaps. Is Peleus a true ally? Or is Conan a pawn in some grand scheme?
That's the beauty of the Scarlet Citadel. It leaves you with more questions than answers.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more.
Absolutely. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out the Scarlet Citadel. It's a wild ride through the Hyborian Age, full of action, magic, and those thought-provoking moments that Robert E. Howard is known for.
And that's all the time we have for this deep dive.
Don't forget to check out our back catalog and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next deep dive into the worlds of literature and history. Until then, happy reading.